Hi, it's Kristen and this is the reading taste tag. So this tag was originally created by Harriet Rose, and it's generally all about your reading tastes, what you like to read, what you don't like to read, what you find yourself reading a lot of, etc. So I've got the prompts written down here, so I'll be looking this way occasionally. So number 1 is describe your reading taste in 1 sentence. And for this, I would say I don't really know. I'll try pretty much anything. As vague as that is. 2, describe your reading taste with categories. So genre, age, length, etc. Length-wise, I will read short books, I'll read long books, I'll read medium-sized books. The length doesn't really affect how I feel about a book. I am quite happy to read any length, but like at certain points I might be more in the mood for a short book or a long book, but I'll read both happily. I do like a short chapter though. I like a short chapter. Age-wise, I tend to read adult now. I will occasionally still read some young adult, but I mostly read adult books. And then genre-wise, I like a mythology, folklore retelling. I like a fantasy with political elements and often romantic subplots. I like literary fiction about like messy women figuring out their lives. So those are the fiction books I like to read. Non-fiction, I tend to go for books about like feminism, women's rights, women's history, women in society, also LGBTQ plus stuff, again about like LGBT plus rights, experiences, history, etc. I've also got into reading books more recently about like nature and the environment in terms of like climate change or like how we as people affect the world and how the world affects us. And I also like a memoir about like people with niche hobbies or who are like undertaking a project or a challenge or something. So think like Cheryl Strayed Wild when she wrote about hiking the PCT, or last year I read a book by a young woman who a lot of it was about like her family's mental health and their relationship with each other, but then it was also about her getting into bird watching and how that was like a thing her family did together. And that was really interesting because it's not something I personally have ever done. I've never bird watched. But I found it really interesting, and it was like I'm learning something new, and it had that nature element and had stuff about the environment and stuff. So yeah, those are like the fiction and non-fiction kind of books I read. So number 3 is to show a few books that represent your reading taste. So for the like mythology retelling side of things, I really love The Witch's Heart and Ariadne. These are a Norse mythology retelling and a Greek mythology retelling that both like center women as their main characters, which is like my favorite thing in mythology retellings if they're centered on female characters. We have writers and lovers and book lovers, just a lot of lovers. These I think really represent the messy women, or just like women trying to figure out their lives, and maybe there's like a bit of romance in there as well. A good example of the fantasy I like is Graceling and the Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. This has like a very political and magical side of things. This has a very magical side of things with like morally grey characters, which I love, and just like badass female main characters, which is what I always want. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and The Appeal, I think, are a good representation of the mystery thriller crime books that I like to read. These are both like mixed media. I love when a mystery book has like emails or newspaper excerpts or interviews that we like read and try and find the clues within. So these are two that I really enjoy in that kind of genre. And then I also love witchy books, so whether that's like a darker witchy book like The Once and Future Witches, or a like witchy romance with A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, both great. The the spectrum of witchiness that I like. Number 4 is a book you didn't enjoy that seemed like it would be your taste. For this, I'm going with Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I've previously read 2 Sally Rooneys before I read this, and they were a 5-star and a 4-star, and I thought, I'm a Sally Rooney girly. I love it. I love the messy relationships, love the messy inner lives of these characters, them trying to figure themselves out while not necessarily being good people. Really liked Conversations with Friends and Normal People, and I thought I'd like this because it's about 2 female friends and their friendship and then their lives and their interactions with like men in their lives. So I thought it's going to be up my alley. And then I just didn't really like it. It wasn't great. There was just something about this one that didn't hit for me. I still gave it 3 stars, so I didn't like wholly dislike it, but I thought, you know, it would at least be like a 4 or 5, and it just wasn't, which is a shame. Then we have number 5, a book you enjoyed that didn't seem like it would be your taste. And for that, I'm going with Lord of the Flies by William Golding. This is because typically this is going to make me sound petty. I don't read a ton of books by male authors. A lot of the books I read, I think all of the books I've just mentioned are by female authors. I predominantly read female authors, and I like books written by women about women. This is a book by a man about a bunch of boys. There's like no female characters in here, and it's about boys getting stuck on an island together. I feel like people know know Lord of the Flies. So the premise of it, just a bunch of boys arguing and things becoming deadly, doesn't necessarily sound like something I would enjoy on the surface. I would also say like semi within theme of this, like Holes by Louis Sachar. Again, something that's surface level doesn't sound like something I'll enjoy because it's about a bunch of boys just trying to survive. But I had a great time with this and with Holes and really enjoyed them both. So, you know, I can't say I don't like books by men about male characters. I just don't tend to read them. But when I do, sometimes they're great and I'm pleasantly surprised. 6 is show us some books on your TBR that seem like they will be exactly your taste. So first up we have Outlawed by Anna North. This is like a Western-esque thing about women who can't have children and how they're like banished from their communities, from society, and they all end up together in this outlaw gang. Sounds like exactly my kind of thing. Starling House, this is like haunted house vibes with these 2 characters who come together and initially don't like each other, but maybe they have to solve a mystery or work out what's going on together, and maybe they start to fall for each other. Sounds like my kind of thing. And this is by the author of The Once and Future Witches, which I really enjoyed. Then I think I'll like A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. This is like the memoirs of this woman, Lady Trent, who is the world's preeminent dragon naturalist. And so it's dragons that she's like studying. I think there might be a romance within the series as well. So that just sounds cool. And then For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, community like banishes or sacrifices a daughter from their community to the wolf, who's this creepy entity that people are scared of. But I think the wolf just turns out to be a man, and there's going to be magic and fantasy, etc. This again sounds like my kind of thing. 7 is a booktuber you watch who you think has similar taste to you. And I think Jean's Thoughts, previously Jean's Bookish Thoughts, has similar taste. She likes a mythology retelling. She reads a lot of like fun romance, whether that's contemporary or fantasy. So yeah, I think we have a similar taste. And finally, 8 is, have you always had this taste in books, or has it changed over time? Obviously the age range has changed. When I was younger, I read YA, now I'm an adult, I read predominantly adult books. I've always loved romance books, but I think as an adult I've become less ashamed of that. I've embraced it. I'm more open about loving romance. So there's that element. But generally, I think I've always read fairly similarly. I've always loved a romantic plot. I've always loved a fantasy plot. Yeah, I think generally my reading taste has maybe evolved but not massively changed. What would your answers to these questions be? Leave them in the comments below, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!